Hello world, welcome, 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 or welcome back. I am Goddess Dawn. It is Sunday, May 5th, 2019, and I'm here today to connect with Prince, the one and only Prince Rogers Nelson. I'm so honored to be able to connect with the soul of Prince and be able to communicate his messages, whatever you want to call it, the communication. As I was saying, I'm so honored today to connect with Prince. I have been an avid fan, and I haven't done a formal reading on Prince. So today's the day. As I mentioned, it's Sunday, May 5th. Some of you may be celebrating Cinco de Mayo today, but I am here today to connect with Prince. He was on Earth from June 7th, 1958 to April 21st, 2016. I can't believe it's been 3 years. When he passed, I was in total shock and didn't understand. Like, I felt like Prince would live to be old age. He seemed to be someone, from what we knew as the public, sober and healthy and just, full of life. So for him to have passed away at the age of 57, it was a shock. So I definitely participated in some of the activities that happened following his death. I live in Los Angeles. There was a huge tribute in LA downtown, and I went to that. Wore this bracelet. This is my Prince bracelet, and he just still lives through his music. It's really sad to see some of the things that I've seen as far as the commercials. I think there was a Super Bowl halftime commercial using, I'm not sure which song, I think Kiss, but I'm not positive. Nevertheless, anyone who knew anything about Prince knows that he was not for that at all. He was not about commercializing his music. He fought for years against his label Warner Brothers in order to get control over his masters, get off of the contract, which they did allow him to finally do. After he paraded around doing interviews and such with the word slave written on his face. I don't know if some of you are old enough or even in tune enough with Prince to know, that a lot of his career was spent as a voice for justice, for, the right to be free. Freedom, I think, was his biggest message, whether it be sexuality, rights, human rights, black rights. He was very pro-black and definitely spoke to these things in his music. If you know anything about his music, I have revisited a lot of his music before doing this reading. Prior to me committing mentally to doing this reading today, I was hearing him in my head. This is typically what happens. They call me, like they want to talk. Usually when I'm in an open space trying to figure out what I'm going to do next with my channel. Some of you may be subs who actually pay attention to my videos. You may know me from doing R. Kelly videos. My first video actually in January on YouTube was reading on Azriel Clary. I had just recently seen the Surviving R. Kelly documentary and was so affected by Azriel's story that I wanted to do a reading, so I decided to make that my first YouTube reading, and it got huge views, a lot of views. And following that, I kind of just stayed on that story, but interweaving readings and meditations, which is my true purpose for being on this platform. So at the end of the day, I'm also still a blogger. I've been blogging since 2010. I had an entertainment blog online at the time, and have since had other things, but this is something that's just kind of in my blood. So that's why if you look at my channel, you may see Jussie Smollett, you may see Jordyn Woods, Dame Dash. There's some things that I'll touch on because I am tapped into the culture. I grew up in the era of hip hop, but at the same time, Prince, though he's not considered hip hop, is and has been a big influence. His music is, part of my young teenage, growing up, coming to age. This is when Prince came out. I think I was about 15. I'm dating myself, but so in high school, he was one of my first concerts. Michael the Jacksons. My parents took me to see that concert here in LA at the Sports Arena. I think it was 85. And then I also saw Prince the same year at the Forum. A friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, her big brother at the time worked for the Forum and had pulled some strings and got us some seats. It was amazing, and it was something I'll never forget. And just having experienced that myself, that was during the Purple Rain era, but having experienced that myself, I know firsthand that Prince put everything into his music, into his performances. He was very passionate as well as meticulous when it came to execution and making sure everything was on point. I was watching some videos also over the course of the past couple of days, and there was a video, I can't remember the song, but it was him in a rehearsal room. He and a couple of his bandmates rehearsing for a performance, and he was just very, meticulous, like I said, about the moves and the perfection of it all. And I also saw an interview with, I believe he was Prince's manager at one time, but he said that Prince, jumping off of these tall platforms, these speakers, for decades in high heels, like 40-foot tall, 30-foot tall speakers, jumping, and then not only jumping, doing the splits and twirling and dancing and sliding, and he was doing everything. He gave us everything. So with that being said, I feel that we owe Prince that respect to honor his legacy. I'm personally not going to support anything that I know is against something he would have wanted while he was here. I feel like, my opinion obviously, but the family has commercialized his legacy, and I understand that we're on earth, we live in America where everything is capitalism. However, I feel that everything that Prince gave us, he literally gave us his life. He danced his life away, as he said in his music, 1999. Go visit those lyrics. Also, Kissed, I think, is the song that really prophetizes his life and death. But if you listen to any of his music, really, you will hear bits and pieces of prophecy as well as information about what to do, live your life through God. He's very God conscious. Also, very much about sexuality. I think sexuality was really his true religion. But it's nothing wrong with it. It's something that's God given, and Prince definitely, he indulged. So, and he sang about it, and he made music about it. The fact that he wrote and produced, and especially his early work, he was a lot of times the sole person on the credits, which you don't see today. You don't see that anywhere, really, when it comes to music and really any type of entertainment. There's always usually a collaboration. I think he opened up and added the revolution to things when Purple Rain, because probably the movie itself needed more collaborational efforts. But prior to that, you would just see Prince on everything, the arrangements, the instruments, the vocals, the writing. So anyway, if you're new to my channel, welcome again. Typically I will do a focused meditation to connect to the soul prior to the cards. So I have gone ahead and done that. So and if you're a returning subscriber, also I appreciate you and thank you for coming. And I'm going to say here and now, if you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and do so, and please like the video and comment. I'm always here for comments, and I don't mind you sharing the videos either. So with that being said, I'm going to reveal the meditation and then go ahead to the cards following that. So thank you, and again, I'm honored to be here connecting with Prince. So the Prince meditation is as follows. This is what came through. He came to me in full regalia, full wardrobe, ruffles, rhinestone, the whole deal. Says he misses being Prince and that he was gone too soon. He said he already knew his fate, that it would be cut short, and he tried to do as much as he could with the time that he had. He said, check the vaults. And he laughed. He's disappointed in his legacy and how it's being handled, but understands how humans operate, so he's not mad about it. It just is what it is. It's his kind of take on it, I guess you could say. He's excited about communicating with the public. For some reason, Queen Latifah was coming through. It said she is someone that he admires. She's multi-talented, same as him. He said we need to use the music to connect to humanity. He says listen to his music. There's so much of it, so many lessons and warnings. He says I talked about my own mortality. I knew what I was facing. I paid the price to live my life. The price was paid for fame. The price was paid for my level of talent. I could have lived a simple life, but why? Life is for the living. He said, I wanted it all. I wanted all of the access. I did, and meaning he's saying he did get it, and he learned too much, he feels like. I tried to put it in the music, but the impact that I intended was not met. I tried, he said. And I think what he's saying is about the messages within the music. He doesn't feel that people really took heed and listened in the numbers, I guess, that he expected or wanted. He says, I gave it everything I had, and I was cut short for going so hard. I could have had more balance, he says, spent more time with Maite, my family. He said, tried for my family. I paid the price. My son, my beautiful son. And then he says, my father, I have more work there. There's more work to do. I will be back bigger than ever. I won't be Prince. There will never be another Prince. I am proud of what I was able to do. I did that. Everyone has a Prince inside of them. They may not make music, but everyone has the potential to be great. Everyone can live a legacy that will impact the earth and the people on it. Be open-minded. All things are possible when you believe. And then he ended it by saying shalom. So that was the meditation. That was the message that came through. So it sounds to me, when he said, I gave everything I had and I was cut short for going so hard. And that's important because when you look back at his life, he was very famous for not doing drugs, not drinking. And the fact that he died from a fentanyl overdose just seems to wipe out all of the work he had done throughout his life in order to not do drugs. But because of the impact of the physical aspect of the work that he did, the stage dancing and performing, and the rehearsing that went behind that, clearly took a toll on his body. He was a small man, 5'2", small framed, and he wore heels constantly. I mean, everywhere. I don't know if we've ever seen him in a flat. Maybe later in life. I need to look back and see if I find anything on that. But, you know, to be able to do that, live that type of lifestyle, wear those shoes and those clothes, you know, it affects your body. He did publicly have hip issues. He was seen with a cane, you know, at some point that was helping to aid him with walking. And, you know, so by saying I gave it everything I had and was cut short for it is very true. He could have limited what he gave and lived longer. And like he said in the meditation also about balance, having more balance. I think all of these are messages for us as humans here, balancing our lives out, not abandoning our dreams and not saying not to go for it. At the same time, though, look at everything big picture, balance your family or your love or whatever other things you have going on besides your career, besides the one thing you are passionate about. It's great to put, you know, the effort in and the time, but you know, there are other things and people in life to also be considered for the longevity of it. So sounds like he knew ahead of time that he was going to go earlier than later in life, and yet he still chose to go the route that he did with regard to, you know, going hard and giving us all that he could. And as Prince, I don't think he could have not done that. So, you know, he did also speak to some sacrificing. This is, you know, that he paid the price. He said that over and over, he paid the price. And I think that does speak to sacrificing, you know, himself in a way. So now for the cards. I've already shuffled the cards. I've burned the sage. I've done my prayer, but I do want to say again, you know, thank you for allowing me to access you, Prince. And we're calling him Prince because that's, you know, we're in the earth realm. He's here in the earth realm, so he's coming as his earth realm self. So what is it that you want us to know? The camera is rolling. And that's what I'm going to ask. I'm going to just do one cut more. What do you want us to know? All right. So I'm going to collect the cards as they are. Okay, we're going to just do a few at a time here. So the first card that was pulled was the Five of Staves. So this card is a representation of women coming together, and looks like, you know, they're fighting. and it represents conflict for the sake of conflict, ego-driven or ego-oriented competition. So we got, that's for the first card. And then the following card, the Three of Swords, which represents betrayal and heartbreak. So I'm going to say we have competition between women or petty fighting, or it could be that something that he's looking back on and reflecting on and saying that, you know, it was all petty, all the stuff that he fought against, because knowing where he is now, that everything just is what it is and nothing really even matters. And then the heartbreak and betrayal, and then following that we have the Eight of Staves. And this card, you know, the betrayal and heartbreak could represent his home life. His dad, obviously, and his mom. His dad was said to be abusive towards him and his mom, and he, you know, was heartbroken behind that experience. Eight of Staves, this represents energetic movement, travel, busy business. This could represent his beginning in the music business. He was popping. This is kind of what that does represent. But like I said, we'll play it all out. We're just going to keep pulling these cards. The next card is the King of Staves. And it represents mastery over business ventures, over material goods, dynamic, enthusiasm. So this is following the beginning, the business energy, and the music. This is probably right here at the beginnings, and then this is being in it and doing really well and bringing ideas to fruition. Following that, we have the Star card, which just confirmed that, baby, he's a star. Right here, following the King of Staves. So he got in the business, he popped off, was able to secure himself, and then became a star, is what I'm feeling like these cards are saying. And then we have the Fortune card, which says to me that he did really well. Worldwide fortune, wishes coming true. This is what this card represents. Next, we have the Four of Cups. I feel like we're entering a new phase, so I'm going to separate the columns. Okay, so Four of Cups, this card represents, you know, too much of a good thing. Taking in, drinking too much. As you can see, there's all the cups are overflowing, and she's just drinking it all in, and it's doing the most, is what this card says. Next, we have the Princess of Staves. Okay, so the Princess of Staves represents someone who is an inspiration, someone who lives unapologetically and inspires others to do the same. This person does not compromise, so this could represent the stage where he was, you know, fighting the powers that be for his independence. Probably, he, you know, he had a lot of fight in him, and he fought a lot of wars during his lifetime. So this card could represent that very well. The Nine of Pentacles is the next card. I'm hoping I'm in frame here. There we go. This card, the Nine of Pentacles, represents pleasure, sensuality, fertility, luxury, family life, and material prosperity, most of all, and enjoying these pleasures. So this is just him enjoying the fruits of his labor, enjoying sex, his sex life, and the sensuality that comes with being Prince. So that's what that card represents. The next card is the Five of Pentacles. Typically this card represents some sort of lack, lack of stability or material things, money, losing things. Yeah, so it represents poverty in the sense of forcing you to look within. So this could represent, I don't recall a time where he was having money problems, although I didn't follow him that hard to where I would know that. But this card could mean a myriad of things. There's a lot of ways that one can be forced to look within. It could be when he lost his son. That was a very tragic and traumatic time for him. I'm pretty sure he never actually spoke on it publicly. He actually went on, I believe it was Oprah, after the baby passed. The baby had some type of a cranial dysfunction or disability that prevented him from flourishing and thriving. So he passed away, I think, shortly after his birth. And Prince never acknowledged it. He went on to Oprah, and I think he did another interview where he said everything is fine. You know, it's just like he's living in denial. But this card does represent him having to, being forced to look within. So prior to that, he was enjoying everything and having sex and doing everything that Prince does. And then boom, something happened to make him get on his knees and pray. Following that, we have the Moon card, Diana, which usually does represent women, support of women. Probably following this tragedy, I'm sure Prince has a lot of female friends, women who came to his aid. I'm sure his wife also at the time and her mother. But these are women who come and they're in your support and they're there to lift you up and help you. The next card is the Prince of Staves. Prince of Staves represents important messages, taking action, new ideas. So what I see this as is following the tragedy that happened and him being forced to look within, and then having the support of the divine feminine around him sparked a new creative burst or stream of creativity for him. I know that he had continued to do music. He's never stopped doing music from what I know. So this could just represent the continued execution of the music and the things that made him happy and fulfilled. Following that is the Contemplation card. So this card actually represents withdrawal, like withdrawing from society, maybe becoming more isolated. This card represents going within for, you know, prayer and meditation and contemplation. So what it says is that, to me, you know, though he continued his creativity, he did so more so in solitude rather than in public, or less than he had in previous times. So I know that close to his death, the year before, I think, is when he started doing those him and the piano one-man shows, which was unusual for him with his big band and always having a lot of people on stage, a big entourage. And it was a more intimate affair. So here we see he has gone within and doing, you know, a little more solitude, withdrawing himself a lot more. And then we have the Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords represents insomnia, being unable to sleep, and worries that keep someone awake, anxiety. So there was something that was bothering him. Could have been the pain he was experiencing. I know that he, you know, had to have some medical procedures for the hip injuries. Then we had the Seven of Swords following this. Seven of Swords represents self-protection. It represents, you know, someone who typically can defend themselves, but there's a lot of burden on them, and they're not sure if the things that they're going to leave behind in their fight are going to be used against them. So it's as if they're fighting against people who they are familiar with, people that they know, and they are looking, you know, behind their back to make sure they're not going to get stabbed in their back. So that represents that. And then the next card is New Beginnings, which is where I ended, because usually when you get this card, it's new, like it says, beginnings. It's a new beginning, starting over. So I looked at this as his following his death. So it looks to me like right before his death, he had a lot of worries, a lot of anxiety. He was not trustful. He was living in fear. So, and then following that, new beginnings. So let me just see if there's anything else. Is there any other messages for us? Is there anything you want to leave us with here today? We're listening and we're watching Prince Rogers Nelson. Okay. Anything else? Oh. Okay. Okay. All right, so we got 3 final cards, and that first of this card is the 6 of Staves. This card actually represents victory, winning. I think for one of his final cards, he's basically saying that he feels still victorious regardless of how he passed away. This says to me that he did not pass away in a, what can I say, peaceful manner. He didn't pass away in a graceful manner. He actually regretted the way that he died. And despite that, he does still feel victory. And that's what that card represents. Following that is the World card. The World card represents an expansion to where you're just connected with the universe. So I think this card just represents the fact that his energy is everywhere. He's still alive. He's connected to all things that are. And, you know, he's gone back to God at this point. I think that's what this card represents. It is the ultimate connection, and does usually represent someone who has passed on to another realm. And then the last card is the Sun card. That's his final message. So this card represents bringing light to the world. It represents intellect. It represents the yin and the yang. I think we all know that Prince did identify himself as at one time as just the symbol, which was the combination of the male and female symbol. And he did say a lot of such things in his lyrics of being man and or woman. But this card does represent both energies. It represents fertility, love, relationships with, you know, children, and just a full experience is what this card represents, the Sun card. So I think that his last words in the reading is just saying that he is having a full-on experience as he is in spirit, and he did the same as he did while he was Prince, while living on the earth realm. And he did it his way. He was unapologetic. He fought for what he believed in. He was very victorious throughout his lifetime, except for when it came to the end of his life, where his health battles overcame everything. And, you know, there was an unfortunate, it was unfortunate, shall I say, the way that he died. Unfortunate that he had to succumb to pills when that was something he was against his whole life. So it just seems that he definitely didn't die the way that he would have wanted to, but he lived the way that he totally would have wanted to. And he wants everyone else to use his example and be, you know, the Prince that's inside of them. He feels that everyone has Prince inside of them, and everyone should be their best selves and therefore live as Prince would have. What would Prince do, in a sense? Except for the pill part, of course. So I guess we'll leave it here. And I thank you so much for being here. And again, thank you to Prince for allowing access. You are missed here on this realm for sure. And yeah, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And until next time, peace.